Good afternoon, everybody. I know we're all just coming in from after lunch. I know it's going to be a hard time to try to pay attention, and I'm sure the one word that we're all looking forward to is the word fire. Uh, no, just some Santa Claus 2 humor there. Uh, no, I wanted to talk to you guys today about airline passenger rights and basically what they go through, some examples of past experiences through issues that passengers are dealing with, and some potential fixes as we move forward. So some of the issues that I'm sure some of us even dealt with coming into this convention is flight delays, cancellations, misconnections, and overbooking. Each one of those causes just heartache to passengers of all sorts of airlines, no matter who you fly, whether it be Delta, American Airlines, United, Southwest. You deal with these issues on a daily just due to the fact that there's stuff that airlines can't control, like maintenance issues, um, weather delays, and just simple traffic delays as well. But each one of these things um, is an issue. But one of the main issues that airline passengers deal with is overbooking. So airlines do this all over the time. They overbook their flights, and they do this as part of a gambling process. So they do it in case of no-shows, and really, it's for the benefit of the airline because airlines, they are a business, as we all know. This is just ensuring that if there are no-shows or if we have issues like we had with flight delays or cancellations, that if an airline overbooks, they're ensuring that all the seats that they have on the aircraft are being filled up. So they're not losing money that way, but if every passenger shows up, they result into this thing called bumping. Now, the first part of the bumping is uh, voluntary bumping. And basically, that's where you hear over the intercom, airlines come over and like, hey, we're looking for X amount of volunteers to give up their seats, and in return, we'll give you a hotel room, a free dinner, or anything like that. However, if you accept those offers, you're allowed to negotiate with the airline in terms of what type of compensation you can get, whether it be, uh, a first class ticket or um, just a different hotel room, depending on like when the next flight is for you, what type of compensation it is. But most airlines are kind of set in stone of what type of compensation they're going to give to you. But before you give up your ticket, the Department of Transportation does require that if an airline offers a reduced rate ticket, free ticket or voucher or whatever to passengers in exchange for volunteering to fly on a different flight, the airline must tell passengers about any and all restrictions that may apply to the use of reduced rate tickets, free tickets, or vouchers before passengers decide whether or not to give up their confirmed reserve space. So if they decide, hey, I don't want to, after they get told about all the issues that may happen with it, then the airlines may be resorted to going into involuntary bumping. Now, this is where it gets into like a little bit gray area of issues. So the airlines are able to actually pick who's not able to go. And how they do this is basically based on what your check-in time was. Are you a part of their loyalty programs and how much your ticket cost? Now, the Department of Transportation does require that they cannot base it off of like your sex, race, or uh, sexual identity or anything like that. But it seems still to be a little bit of a discrimination in, hey, if a first class ticket is more important than someone who is in business class or anything like that. So there's an issue there that passengers already have time with, and I'm sure that you can see it by my prompt here of the guy being angry. This is what happens. Passengers then become angry. How are you going to keep a level head with this if all of a sudden you're needing to be somewhere and then they tell you, no, you can't go there anymore? Well, this happened especially in the 2022 Southwest Airlines incident. So we're going to get into a few legal incidents of airlines not being prepared for their customers. So back in 2022, there was an ice storm that came in throughout the Midwest, and Southwest had to close down 17,000 flights. That's a lot of flights. That stranded over 2 million passengers. Um, and what this called for was there was a massive influx of people trying to call Southwest customer service, and it just became overloaded. Like they were getting the busy signal, they were just unable to get a hold of Southwest customer service, and this put a strain on the Southwest Airlines. Um, and so what happened was Southwest, since they were so overloaded, they were not able to get all the refunds out to people. So this caused an even more uh, violation of people's rights, and they weren't able to get even vouchers. They weren't getting hotels. They weren't getting transportation anywhere. And then on top of that, they weren't getting their refunds. Now, most people were able to get their refunds, but some of the stuff that they were not able to get were like refunds on fees or upgrades or anything like that, or even get their points back that they used. So passengers were obviously very upset about this, and this happened all during Christmas time. So, I mean, that just adds to the aspect of, oh, this is not good for Southwest at all. And it was also reported that Southwest violated the law on numerous occasions, and that included by failing to help customers who were stranded in the airports and hotels, and leaving many of them to scramble for other flights. Um, so what this happened to was the Southwest was then required, they came to a settlement, so this didn't go past court or go into court or anything. They came into a settlement, and they were required to pay $140 million in the settlement. And part of that settlement is if a customer gets to their destination over 3 hours late, then they get a voucher of at least $75 in the event of cancellations. And through all this, Southwest was said to have lost a total of $1.1 billion with all the refunds made, hotels, and the transportation they paid for on top of the settlement. So that's a big number of money to use. I mean, I wouldn't want to lose $1.1 billion, let alone $1.1. But that's just me. um, Going forward, this is another issue that came about, another legal issue. This was just due to the COVID-19 cancellations, and this happened in Canada. So there was like a class action lawsuit that was conducted against a few major airlines, and as you can see, we had WestJet, Air Canada, Swoop Incorporated, Sunwing Airlines, and Air Transit. And what happened when COVID hit, they just decided we don't want to pay these refunds. We're throwing our hands up. We'll offer you vouchers instead. So the people got mad about that because obviously airlines aren't flying. They're trying to save as much money as possible because, hey, they're a business, and so they want to offer vouchers instead of losing all this money. But if you're paying this money and you don't get to actually fly on this aircraft, well, you want your money back, as many would assume. Um, Now, this doesn't have a happy ending for most people because this particular case got issued into the wrong court in Canada. So essentially, since it got issued into the wrong court, this court did not have the power to do anything to these airlines, so it got thrown out. However, it's just a point of people want to take action when they are feeling like they're being played or they're being used. So because of this type of things happening to people, there was actually a passing of this year in 2024 of this law, HR 3935. And one of the things that was passed in this was the no hassle refunds or slash vouchers. So basically, travelers are entitled to a full refund, including taxes and fees, even on a non-refundable ticket, on any flight to and from or within the United States that is canceled or significantly delayed. Now, significantly delayed was defined as anything that was 3 hours or more. So this applied to U.S. and foreign airlines. And this part of the law actually goes into effect later on this year. So all the airlines have to be in compliance with this by October 28th of 2024. Um, as we continue, another cool thing that HR 3935 passed was the 24/7 customer service. So this makes all the airlines are required to have a customer service hotline manned at all times. So someone should be able to reach customer service no matter what. And they learned from the Southwest where they stranded 2 million passengers. And it comes back to that because during that time, since it was so overloaded, um, the customer service only worked 9 to 5. So there were passengers who were trying to call and they wouldn't be able to get a hold of anybody for 8 to 10 hours, which caused them to be delayed even more and having more out-of-pocket expenses by trying to find their own hotels, flights, or getting rental cars instead. So, and with this HR 3935, there's over 21 new changes in the laws passed that help customers and airline passenger rights. So going into it, how I think it can be fixed with the help of HR 3935 is having a legal representative in each airport, or maybe just the major airports, but someone who is hired by the airport itself and not by any airline, so that there's no biased opinion on who or what people can get out of compensation. So basically what these legal advisors do is, with all these new laws coming, it would be beneficial for passengers to be able to understand their rights and what they're entitled to, what they're compensated for. And before someone even makes a call to customer service to complain or ask for compensation and make sure they're not getting played, or making sure they're getting the right amount of compensation for their issues, they can get all the information right there. Also, with this new update, they can act as a liaison for customers, so they can call on their behalf. However, with that option, I feel like they would need to be paid for, so that's where it would maybe be an issue. So speaking of issues, challenges of implementing this legal advisor would be the cost and location. Like, where are you going to put them? Is it easily accessible for people? Are people even going to be aware that they're there for them? So, and how much are you going to pay? What's the size of each department going to be? Because if something happens like the Southwest incident, or even more recently where there was a computer malfunction and just left people stranded, obviously there's going to be a wave of people going in. So you need a good manning if something like that ever happens. You'll also get probably a lot of resistance from the airlines themselves, because obviously you don't want someone who's on the third party look, helping people out, and the airline's paying more than what they possibly didn't have to pay. And so the last challenge is the adaptability between airports. Like I said, it may not be for every airport. There are small airports out there that just, they don't have the budget into it to be able to afford a legal liaison. So maybe it's only meant for like the big airports, like the Atlanta or the Dallas Fort Worth or the Chicago's. So maybe you could just call into some legal liaison there. So with all this being said, it's important for passengers to understand their rights, because in the end, it's better customer satisfaction. You want those customers to come back. You want them to fly on your airplane. You want better communication between the airlines and passengers, because in the long run, more passengers just want to be heard and they don't want to feel like they're getting played. So it's important to understand what you're entitled to, what type of compensation you get, and it's important that you have these type of conversations with the airlines to make sure that they're being fair to the customers. And with all that, that wraps into a biblical worldview of just justice and fairness. And when I think of that, I think of Micah 6:8. And as you can see on the screen, he has told you, oh man, what it is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. In my mind, that's pretty simple. Do right by people. Don't do evil. And if you know what's good and you don't do it, it's sin. And that all and fairness is just plain and simple to be able to. So if you're an airline in this crowd today, do right by the customers. You know, if you overbook them and they have a complaint, compensate them fairly because you don't know what they're flying to or what they're doing. Um, and in conclusion, passenger rights are crucial, and as we've seen, they're being implemented each year, especially this year, of making sure passengers have all the information they need, they get the support they need, um, and we talked about the proposed solutions of maybe having a legal advisor in each airport that's not owned by any airline specifically, but a third party is owned by the airport. That way it can be an unbiased opinion. And just empowering passengers to understand the rights that they have and understanding that they are um, able to get the fair compensation they need. I thank you guys again. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. Thank you.